Plan Commission to order. It is Wednesday, December 14th at 6:30 p.m. We are holding this as a hybrid meaning that we are on Zoom as well as in the Village Hall here. And the Zoom link is at the top of the agenda. There is also an audio call-in number as well with a meeting ID for those who choose to do so. With that, we have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have public appearances. And we have a couple folks that do want to speak that submitted forms here, I'm assuming in the room. So first up, Wade Houston, and this is in regards to Zilber Group. Oh, there you are. Please, that way Wade and the folks on the Zoom can hear you. You'll have to turn on the mic, pull the knob on the top towards you. There you go, thank you.
Yeah, Wade Houston. Me and my family own the land just to the west of the proposed Zilber subdivision. And like I said at the first public information meeting, we like the way that road went. It connects back to our property, which I think was the intent of the village, is to make that whole area, part of the, urban service area. So we're in favor of it, and thank the village and everybody for making that continuation happen to use all that property as it was designed to be done. I know the other project went a little fast, and we kind of things got a little, it went fast. I don't know what else to say. So thank you for looking at this one and looking at the rest of the whole property to make it useful. So, but we are in favor.
All right.
So thank you.
Next, we have Jerry Bradley. Jerry, if you would just share your address. I think I've got it here, but.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Jerry Bradley. I own the property just to the north of this project. You'll see it under Ernest Farms LLC. And a little background on us, Ernest was my grandfather. And we are the longest running family farm in the town of Sun Prairie. So with that, I have two issues to speak on this. First is the road, Faber Road leading to this project. Now, I've been told they're not going to fix it this time, but at some point, that road is going to have to be rebuilt, probably widened, probably curb and gutter, and I don't know if you're even going to demand sidewalks or not, but I'd like an insurance this evening from either the village or from Zilber that Ernest Farms will not be a special assessed that driveway, because that's not going to help our farming operation, and we shouldn't be assessed for an improvement to that road. That's going to be expensive for us. So with that, I'd like some assurances that we're not going to get special assessed. Or if Zilbers are saying, make sure that I'm not going to pay for it. Nobody's going to answer me?
Well, we really can't answer a question. We'll try to address it later.
Well, I think, Rob, it's true. I think the chair could ask to suspend the rules, a motion to suspend the rules, and take up this subject while I'm here.
So this is more of an open meetings law issue. So it just can't be addressed during public comment. During the public hearing portion, the Plan Commission can consider this, and it can be a discussion topic. It's just right now they're not able to speak on this item.
All right, I'm going to just consider, I think you could open it up. You could take a motion to suspend the rules and take it up, but I'll move on. My other issue, I said there's two of them, is the stormwater. As that property rolls down, and as the open house meeting a couple months ago, it showed, you could see where some water now comes into my property. Once you start pouring concrete and blacktop, I realize that there are studies and engineering reports that will address that stormwater, it's never enough. You've got stormwater that will come off where Amazon's gonna be into the Stofka property, which is gonna overload the system already, and then it's gonna come onto me. I would like some assurances that if flooding does occur, that I will be helped with remediation and whether it's waterways, tiles, or something, so that that my farmland there isn't flooded. That's about 50 acres total, and that's a really good farm. And I would like some assurances that after the fact, that you're not gonna find out how much it is until after the fact, so that we don't have to brunt that cost. I did talk to the NRCS, which is the National Resources and Conservation Service. I have a lot of buffer strips in our property that they've designed. In fact, the waterway on that property is designed. I worked that farm for 35 years, me and my father, or the family. And that waterway, we repaired that about 10 years ago with the help of NRCS, helped design that. I've got other waterways, and I had contacted them hoping to have a cost estimate, what it might cost. You know, they look at things and they said, we can't do it ahead of time. We'll have to see what the erosion is, then we'll help design it. And I said, but I probably won't be able to go back after them unless I get something in a development agreement or something like that. The NRS did say, we'll help you. So with that, I'm hoping you guys will address that after the fact that I'm taking care of them that. That's all I have. I just have the two issues, the road and the stormwater.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Any other, any other public appearances on Zoom or in the room? All right, and we will move then on to opening a public hearing. This is public's opportunity to provide input. I'm sorry. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Lisa. I skipped right over it. Next, we have discussed and consider the meeting minutes held from our Plan Commission on November 9th. Any questions, comments, edits regarding the meeting minutes as presented?
We did not do item
I'll
7.
make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Heidi.
But we did not talk about item 7, I don't believe.
All right, that's
Oh,
within the meeting minutes.
on the meeting minutes.
It was a heyday?
No, we did not.
Yeah.
We were not here.
Yeah.
All right.
So Troy, we could amend, are you okay with amending the minutes to take out that
Item 7.
item 7, the developer was ready to present at this meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I make that amendment.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that second also.
All right. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, next, where I jump to, I'd like to open a public hearing. This will be public's opportunity to provide input on an application from Zilber Property Group for the approval of a general development plan for an approximate 70-acre light industrial development on parcel 0811-332-8501-1 and parcel number 0811-332-8072-1 and parcel 0811-332-8182-1. This is on 4953 County Highway N. Do you want to jump right into?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Should the guys just need public hearing?
They should have.
So. Yeah, it still goes in, yeah. It's still considered part of the record, you know, so those comments, they relate to this, so it's still considered part of the record before you. Yeah, I think it's fine. You can still consider those comments even though they were under the general public comment section.
We do have representatives from the developer here. Chelsea, I don't know if you're running the show here or whatever. Yeah.
Got left on. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chelsea Quinn. I'm with Silver Property Group. I just wanted to thank you all for your time and consideration as we've worked with village staff and officials to, get the ball rolling on this project. We've made baby steps with some introduction meetings, I think last month, as well as the public input meeting a couple of weeks ago as well. So if there's any questions, myself and we have a couple of design team members here who are willing to provide any additional input as needed.
Thank you. Anybody from Zoom want to comment on this particular item? All right. Want to move right into yours? Or?
Sure. So
Let me- I'll close the public hearing then at this point then, and please start with staff comments.
yeah, so generally the layout in the GDP aligns with what Silver team showed at the concept stage. The staff report goes through the comp plan and zoning consistency in a fair amount of detail, so I won't go through all that again. There are a few unique issues with the site, some of which we kind of got touched on in the public comments, but I guess regarding Faber Road, the developer is responsible for rebuilding that road throughout the site, so it's not something that would be assessed back to Jerry as the adjacent property owner. It's the developer's responsibility to do that. The developer agreement refers to those drawings and outlines the public improvements that the developer has to do, so I think you'll be covered that way. The Faber Road right-of-way is still in the town of Sun Prairie. We met with the town chairman and one of the other supervisors last week. They're fine on working with us on a maintenance agreement where basically the developer builds the road, the village is then responsible for maintaining it after it's turned over, but it could just remain otherwise in the town's right-of-way. There is a home currently at the end of Faber Road. We'll just want to make sure that obviously they can continue to access the road throughout construction, and then the developer will be responsible for rebuilding their driveway and connecting it back to the new Faber Road. I think Jerry mentioned having a curb cut or something to get his equipment up. That's something we can certainly work with the developer on, making sure that's part of the Faber Road design. Wade already kind of commented on the road connection back to their property. And then I think the developer has agreed to meet with Jerry again if you're interested to go over some of those stormwater issues. So with that, we'd recommend approval with a few conditions. Again, this is the first of two approvals, general development plan. Next month, we'll have the precise implementation plan, which is a lot more of the engineering type details. So these comments are a little bit more general. The first one, just recognizing the two exceptions they're seeking that are causing this to be a planned unit development as opposed to being developed in an industrial district. One would be the height of the buildings. Planned industrial district caps that at 45 feet. They'd be seeking an exception to go up as high as 60. The other would be reducing some of the setbacks. We'll have a CSM to look at the next meeting, but presumably some of those property lines will transect the parking lots and would otherwise create some issues with the paved surface setbacks. So we'd be looking for some exclusions on that. As part of the PIP, we'll see the full landscaping plan, but we'll just want to make sure that the adequate buffering is in place to the residential properties that are adjacent. We'll want to see how the undeveloped portions of the property are going to be maintained. The developer is already aware of the DNR's water quality approval letter that came and this was brought into the urban service area. There were some conditions there mostly to do with meeting with the town, meeting with the property owners that we're already working on. There's a traffic study that's in progress. We had a meeting with the developers and the village and county staff, I think a week or two ago. So there may be some required improvements, turn lanes, things like that, that are not necessarily reflected on the GDP that will be made part of the project when they're determined in their final form. Chief Archibald from the fire department did review this. Generally okay with everything. Just want to put in some reminders. With larger buildings like this, especially concrete ones, there's sometimes some issues with radio signals inside those buildings. We just want to check if there's a need for radio boosters when we get further along in the construction of those buildings. We'll want to verify the turn radii for their equipment throughout the site. I don't think there's going to be any issues with that, but we just want to double check. And they usually like to see where the hydrant locations are, just to see if there's any feedback on that. Just a reminder, there will be impact fees for industrial buildings. Those are usually based on number of employees for an industrial project like this. And then the developer will be responsible for any connection fees charged by the sewer district. Josh had a report as well with some comments.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of the same comments, Aaron. I think, just being through some of the conceptual level stuff, like Aaron mentioned before, prior to the PIP submittal, or the GDP submittal, a lot of what we were expecting to come in as the GDP we had been addressed or kind of discussed as part of that prior to it. The big thing is the traffic impact analysis in Dane County, just like the development to the south, like Aaron was saying, Dane County has control of the county roads and the jurisdiction in this area. So we can provide the access, which Faber Road is already there, but there's also going to be some restrictions on maybe some turn lanes and sight distance and whatnot at that access point. And Dane County knows that, and we're working on the traffic impact analysis with the development team now in that regard. As far as the amount of traffic, this use is warehouse type use, and there isn't as much traffic as one would expect. It's not going to be staffed by a large amount of employees. It right now appears, moving into just the initial stages of the traffic impact analysis, that it should work with the infrastructure that's out there, but that will come in the PIP submittal as they progress. As far as, right away, there's just some stuff in ours about the right of way coming into the site, making sure that the roads is a specific width, utilities are coming in. Wade was here and mentioned, just making sure that access and stuff is provided to that western property, and the utilities are there to support it as well. And some of those that then can loop maybe back into the site to the south, the large site to the south, and making sure that they're connected accordingly. We did include in here a multi-use path, probably along this stretch of road, sidewalk on one side, and multi-use path, just as an idea. And also a multi-use path along N. So if you recall, that was one of our recommendations for the large southern property, potentially along T and N, to continue that multi-use path connection along N south into the village. And maybe you'd want to create the same thing along to this development, just as a different use out there for bikes off the street. The other little thing we mentioned was also some additional right-of-way that would probably be needed along the county road, and the county had that restriction or request as part of the development to the south. They're probably going to want that same thing here. I know you guys are probably anticipating that as part of this. And utility comments, or similar to what Aaron mentioned, there's the fire comments as part of that, and then just some of the future water connections. Now, this site is going to require a lift station as part of it. It's up and over the hill, so everything falls away into the north. We were just at Utility Commission, and the Utility Commission wants to move ahead with just kind of thinking of that area more regionally. That was part of the Utility Commission. We helped in a more regional kind of look at different parts of the community, and that was one of those where you would set a regional lift station that would not only serve this parcel, but potential future growth if it ever occurred out there. So you wouldn't have multiple lift stations, but you could have one regional lift station. So that would kind of pair and correspond with what this development team is doing as part of their improvements. That would be a pump station that would pump back down to that last roundabout by the gas station, by the BPs, where we have gravity sewer that it could feed into. Other than that, we have the storm sewer comments. A lot more will come in the PIP. There was the comment about drainage Jerry had to the north. We understand that that is a concern. We've talked with even the town chair several times about that, and I know you've had some concerns about that in the past, and the development team is very aware of that. The development team met with the town chair and us as part of kind of the next step into the PIP. What they're proposing now and what we've heard so far is just to make sure the drainage is either getting out to N on the one corner near N, and then the rest of it, instead of flowing north, will be captured into basins on their north side and actually sheeted more towards, if there is overflow, to the northwest, which is into more of the wetland area where then it can get down to the creek. More to come. There's going to be some additional work as part of that, but we understand that to the north, draining everything to the north would be an issue to those farm fields. So that's a consideration that the development team knows about and is looking into as they move forward in the PIP. Other than that, there was a little bit of a lighting comments that we had too, just on lighting levels and, not impacting those private properties. There's a couple private properties up along end there as part of it. The development team is aware of some of that. That's all we had.
All right. Questions from commissioners?
I guess I'll go back to talk briefly about Jerry's questions, and thank you for this information. Thank you for all of your work on getting everything preliminary planned and the outreach meeting you had with neighboring properties. So it sounds like Faber Road is, it seems like we're in alignment on kind of what we're looking for on Faber Road. The developer will be bearing the cost of those updates, is that?
Yeah, that's correct. And as Aaron mentioned, the town is in favor of the village sort of having control of that road. So it's technically within the town's jurisdiction, right? So we don't have any authority over it right now. So the town would like that to be part of a broader boundary agreement discussion. But for the short term, they're at least willing to say, village, you just take care of the road, you have control over it for however many years until until we start the boundary agreement process and see where that goes. But yeah, otherwise everything would fall on the developer to work on the extension. And one quick note on the special assessment question. So I don't believe the village could specially assess territory or property outside of its jurisdiction. I can confirm that, but I don't believe that's something the village could do, even though the property might benefit from it. It's a taxing power, so you can't tax land that's just not yours. So that's something we can follow up with, but I just wanted to address that.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Yeah, I appreciate the extra work that goes into this since it is a bordering property, so outside of our boundaries. So then the stormwater, there will be much more analysis on the stormwater before the next meeting. Is that by both Strand and what's presented in the plans? Is that we can get a better grip on what that's going to look like?
Well, we've, I guess, I hope I raised the bar. We submitted today for a PO package, which includes all the stormwater analysis already. So we've taken the feedback we received not only from the CARPC comments and the higher standard that they put in place, the commentary from Ernest Farms and the desires or objectives he had, and we memorialized that in the plan. So Aaron should have in his inbox a nice big link of a stormwater management plan that addresses all those concerns. Our proposal matches exactly what we identified in the neighborhood meeting or the public informational meeting and what was described here today. To summarize those concerns by Jerry, the point discharge is currently going through his property. He doesn't want more water there going there. So just as Josh described, we're rerouting those ponds that would concentrate flow and direct them into the wetlands on our site, so it'd be more of a sheet flow condition than concentrated. And so I don't believe we're punting that problem down the road or redirecting it. There's some nice drainage canals that run from that wetland complex to the north that we'd be utilizing. And then as far as Faber Road, there's a culvert there now that we're proposing to eliminate and put it right into the county right away. And in essence, doing verbatim what was requested of us. As far as infiltration, we believe there's wonderful infiltratable soils on our site, so we're meeting the very tough standard that was put in place by CARPC, and we're actually exceeding it too. So I think as Josh reviews that, I think he'll agree that we've addressed these concerns.
Yeah, we, as part of that, to just echo that is, we're reviewing it, from the village's standpoint, but also from what CARPC has put out there, what the county has put out there, and what the DNR requires. They all have these things. They're very close, but there's some nuances with all of them. We've had conversations about that, and there's similar type of things going on to the site to the south, where they've done the same stuff. So, yeah, we haven't looked at it yet, but I fully anticipate that will work, and it'll be a good plan moving forward.
Okay.
And one other thing, I don't mean to interrupt, we also did meet with the town of Sun Prairie too and pitch these concepts, which
Yep.
Several of the members are on drainage commissions and things like that. So the concepts that we pitched, very much higher level, are now followed up with the down in the dirt details, which are submitted here to the village.
Yeah, just to add on to that, we did meet with Lyle, the town board chair, and he's very knowledgeable about all this, and he was impressed by the plan.
All right, I'm glad to hear that we're looking through the plans with that lens and with those concerns in mind. So I appreciate that very much. I guess the other two questions I had about the multi-use path, I think it would be very beneficial for your development and the community as a whole for people using alternate transportation to get to work and such, working at these warehouses to have that transportation there, and it'll help us in our kind of regional goals to connect our different communities. So I would definitely, I hope to see that in the final plans. And then I'm also curious about dark sky lighting, if you'd be open to where. I think that's important, especially on these fringe areas, to minimize our light pollution. So I would definitely encourage dark sky fixtures outside as well.
So I think you'll also be pleasantly surprised. We do have the multi-use path in our plans that we presented for the road here today along I'll call it Faber Road extension for right now, just for point of reference. We have that on the near side, meeting on our development side of the road. On the south side of the road, we have some grading challenges to overcome with the e-commerce site to the south. For point of reference, there's a knob on our site that goes up about 35 feet in not so long of a distance. So we have some grading challenges to come with. So, a lot of details to vet on Highway N and on the south side if there's a sidewalk and a multi-use path. But the multi-use path we included voluntarily for this as a consideration in our proposal.
Great, thanks. I think that's all the questions. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commission members?
I have a couple questions if I can. The discussion about the lift station and, planning for future development here, I think is great, but who's paying for the lift station at this point based on one development?
Well, that's a good question. JJ, you might be able to help out. I mean, the utility commission was going to move forward with the design through sewer funds, but after that, we were going to move back to just an impact, right? So an impact fee based on the sewer shed, right? What can this lift station serve? Just like you think of a watershed, there's sewer sheds, and how much gravity can actually come to this and then be pumped by it. So you'd take the cost of the lift station, you'd come up with a impact fee per acre based on that, and then each developed area would pay their fair share to this over a period of time. And I don't have all the details in that yet, but that's the general idea. And I know, JJ, you're kind of working towards that impact fee over the next year.
Yeah, just sent the signed proposal after utility commission meeting to the firm we're gonna work with, Troy, so as they get into the weeds of that, I could give you more detailed response, but yeah, Josh summarized it perfectly. Everybody kind of pays their portion as they develop.
Okay, all right. And to date, my understanding is we don't have a development agreement with Amazon. You know, how do we get services out to them, water and sewer in particular? It has to go through the Amazon property, but if Amazon never develops, who's bearing the cost of that?
Actually, water and sewer are essentially stubbed to the Amazon property already. I mean,
On TT, just south of, you know, near the park and ride, right? And then it goes north-south into that property. There was gonna be an extension of those up and around their buildings, and then to the north around the west side of their building, so that it could be further served to the north to this property in the future, and to the Houston property to the west in the future. This would be an independent service, so water and sewer would be up end to this development, and then the water would loop back into the Houston parcel and back down into potentially the Amazon parcel as part of all that, so the water would be looped. The sewer for the Amazon parcel was still potentially gonna serve also the Houston parcel, unless the Houston parcel can then make this work, this new option potentially with gravity. And I have not seen the full gravity scenario for the Zilber site yet, but maybe that's a feasibility side too. So they wouldn't be waiting on.
So if Amazon doesn't develop, and I'm not saying they're not, but if they don't, is Houston and Zilber bearing the cost from where utilities are now near the parking lot? Is the village absorbing that cost? Where is that funding coming from?
essentially, impact fees that have been collected already, and then impact fees that are collected as other developments come in. So we already have a significant balance in impact fee funds sitting there. And then, like Josh said, we update the impact fees based on the sewer shed, and as other things develop, they pay back into that. And then I'd have to let our finance director really get into the weeds on how, you know, maybe utility debt is financed and planned to be paid with those funds, or the structure of that, probably specific to each project. But to your bigger question on the utilities, if Amazon doesn't develop, then essentially the only thing is the water main won't loop, and that's no different than if one block develops here versus over here. Eventually, someday, you know, Josh and I know that when whatever comes here, we're looping that water.
Yep.
It doesn't really affect this property.
Okay, all right, it's just the distance between where, you know, utilities are now and where it needs to go is a lot more than one block.
Yeah.
And you answered the question, I'm certainly in favor of it, but at this point, those folks are on an island out there. If they develop, you know, whatever their time frame is, you know, they're a long ways away from any other development in the village.
If you could say a good thing about it is, no matter what happened or how development came, the topography out there means that as the village grows that way, we needed a regional lift station anyway there. So it really wouldn't have mattered if it came incrementally, quarter lot by quarter lot. Once you get to this point, what we need to see is one regional lift station that serves that whole area versus, you know, a bunch of tiny little ones. So from our perspective, whenever it comes, we need to just make sure that that's how it's designed.
All right, thanks, AJ.
Any other questions or comments from commission members? All right, then this item 7 is discuss and consider the application.
I'll make a motion to approve the application from Zilber Property Group for a general development plan for approximately 70 acre light industrial development on parcels 0811332, 8501, 0811332, 8072-1, and 0811332818-1 at 4953 County Highway N.
I'll second that.
All right.
With staff conditions?
Yes, with staff conditions.
Troy with staff conditions?
Yes, the staff condition, sorry.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Don. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, then, we have discuss and consider the application for the approval of the certified survey map for this 2 parcels, and this is parcel 0711-041-2210-1. This is at 1565 Landmark Drive. They want to make it 2 parcels.
Yeah, so technically, the village is the applicant in this case, as we're splitting it and then selling the one portion to one community bank. The bank will be here in January with their site plan and conditional use permit. Just the way the sale was structured, the other deadline for CSM came earlier, so that's why we're looking at it tonight. We recommend approval. The village basically engaged their engineer to put it together, so we've seen it in detail. We're okay with it.
Any questions from commission members?
I'll make a motion to approve the application from the Village of Cottage Grove for approval of a certified survey map to divide parcel number 0711-041-2210-1 at 1565 Landmark Drive into 2 parcels.
Second.
With other conditions?
There was none.
Hope not. Thank you, Eddie, and thank you, Alex. All right, all those in favor then? Aye.
One question?
Oh.
Sorry. One question if I can is that smaller lot going to be more difficult to sell if we split this lot up? Because it's the village lot, correct? And they only want to buy half of it. Or a portion of it.
Quite sure I heard that. You're asking about the feasibility of the remaining lot for sale?
Yeah, it's just, it's all of a sudden a pretty small lot. It's very limited what you can put in there, right?
Yeah, I think there's some consideration of the village holding on to it, but at 1 acre, if the village did decide to sell it, I think it's a fairly uniform shape and of a minimum size that we could still get a small office building or something like that on there. But it's really the front edge.
Why would we want to, why would we want to hold that lot? Why doesn't whoever's buying it buy the lot and split it themselves? I'm in favor of splitting the lot, but I don't want to own the lot.
Troy, the village is going through, the village is going through a due diligence process right now for site feasibility and a space needs analysis on that site for a potential future second EMS or emergency services station. So the village is contemplating not selling that lot and holding on to it.
Okay, all right. Good answer. Thank you, Matt.
How's it going, Troy?
All right, we have a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Future agenda items?
Yeah, as Adam mentioned, Team Zilber submitted their drawings, so they'll be back in January. The bank will be here in January. So it should be a fun meeting.
All right. Then, item 10.
Fred.
Make a motion to approve, or to adjourn. Approve adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Troy. Non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Christmas, everyone.
to that.
They need to do some screening, you can see all the HVAC stuff.
I don't know that our demo